Welcome to the first ever Boys of Spring show, where
Boys of
Short,
Spring.
Live Joe Betts, and Ty the College Guy are going to dig in to every single week the new Spring Football League, the UFL. What's going on, Jort?
Hey, I'm excited to be here. It's so crazy. Like we go back, man, 2 years ago, I didn't know what you look like. You didn't know what I look like. And then one day you were like, yeah, here's my number. I keep missing your Discord messages. And I was like, oh yeah, like I'll text you, And then here we are face to face. And like, we go back from chopping it up with college football, just trying to figure it out. And, to putting up some parlays together for Canadian football. I remember we hit a plus 1,400 or a banger one day just over the summer, and then it's only natural to have the Boys of Spring. We got some spring football now, which is super exciting. So excited to be here. And it's nice to talk about some football, finally back in our lives.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is I feel like when I look at you, I'm still looking at myself, especially when we both have hats on, both got the same, scruff and everything good to go. Like you said, it only feels natural for us to dig in now to football because we are both football guys, even though you do NBA and MLB.
Yep.
I believe, based on your hat.
Yeah. Well, this is a Vikings hat.
Right. That the gridiron is where you belong.
Oh, yeah. I got you. Yeah.
Right. Yep. So I'm excited to do this with you. I mean, you've watched the XFL and the USFL over the last two years.
Yep.
What did you think when they decided to merge? What did you expect to happen with these two leagues?
Well, I was hoping they were going to bring back where they started from the end zones and they ran at each other.
Yeah.
Or the different whatever he hate me or whatever on the background on the back and stuff, But I'll tell you what though, I was a big fan of the Seattle Sea Dragons, and it was kind of bummer to see them go. And Ben DiNucci, I don't think is on any teams or anything like that. I think they were a pretty exciting team. So it was kind of a bummer to lose some of the teams. I was really hoping to see a big league. I think they had didn't they have 8 and then
eight both had 8.
So to bring in 16, I think would have been exciting. Maybe in the future, we have some success. You continue to have an expansion team, and we end up with 10 in a year or so, maybe, and then 12 and so on and so forth. Because obviously there's a plethora of players that are getting into it and everything like that. But I think it turned out well. They did a nice mixture of the different types of rules and everything like that. They kind of brought that in. Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't think I'm disappointed in it. It all went, the way I guess it would have gone. And like I said, the only hope, I guess, would have been, or only thought would have been, if we would have had some more teams, to bet on, and just to have, I guess, more than just 2 games, in a day kind of thing, But there may be some future or something on the horizon, though. The Rock's always got his hands in something.
Yeah. You know what I wish that they would give us a game almost every night.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Why are you gotta put them in Saturday and Sunday? I can't complain though, because we didn't used to have spring football, and now we do.
Right. Definitely.
And you know what? I loved the Seattle Sea Dragons as well. Their colors were insane.
It was the colors, man.
Yeah, the colors were sick.
For sure.
We did lose the Philadelphia Stars here, who did make it to the USFL championship 2 years ago. Lost, but yeah. I mean, you got to watch this weekend, right? I mean, I loved what I saw.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was where I was, usually when these leagues start out, because you bet it the last 2 years, is that the defense is always ahead of the offense.
Yep, definitely.
And while I know that you were hitting unders,
I did.
I didn't feel like I saw too many balls being overthrown or anything like that, which always made it difficult to watch. And this year, I don't feel like we got that. The offenses, I felt, looked really good.
Right. Yeah. And that was that was the main point of wanting to take unders. And, in the beginning here was that I remember watching it last year, and it was just man, it was terrible. I mean, it was like watching the MAC, Ohio without Rourke, behind there, and they're just missing, overthrowing it, underthrowing and stuff like that, which he's actually going to Canadian Football League. So we'll have to talk about that later.
Yeah, which I'm excited to see him do that for sure.
Right. But it's and hey, I hit that under 41.5. It stayed at 41 for the longest time. They missed that field goal. I mean, I can't believe I was sweating that. It was crazy. But offenses looked fantastic, and some of the defense looked actually really good too. There wasn't any blatant stupid plays. There was certainly a lot of fumbles. I remember watching man, whoever played the Brahmas, I think they were putting the ball on the ground a lot. They had that fumble recovery for a
The
touchdown.
DC Defenders.
Yeah. So like there was a lot of like, stuff like that. What's going to come into them getting back into like hitting shape. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
but no, I mean, I think the offense is really clicked.
Yeah. So what you guys can expect from this show is that we are going to give you our thoughts on how we expect these games to go for gambling purposes, obviously, right? Obviously, we're both affiliated with Beer Money Picks Discord, so our members are always going to get our favorite plays, but we're here to give you our research that we've spent time in on these 4 games and these 8 teams to give you guys the best idea on where to put your money, right? So, I mean, let's just kick it off.
Sounds good.
Right? So we start off on Saturday. You got the Brahmas versus the Showboats. Okay. Here, personally, I love a team. The Brahmas, I feel it's 5.5, I believe, at this moment. Am I correct? You got it pulled up. I believe it's 5.5. 2.5. 2.5.
2 now.
Oh, even. Okay.
2. Yeah, close enough.
So what I'm doing is, unfortunately, I love the Showboats. And I also like the under here. All right. Chase Garbers looked great last week for the Brahmas. But, I mean, let's be honest. The Showboats, in my opinion, I thought looked really good. They didn't trail the entire game against Houston. They didn't trail the entire game. So they're, I believe they're at home also.
The Showboats are, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And you're giving me points. I think that this is just an overreaction. To what the Brahmas did last week. And let me tell you, as a Philly guy, legend like Rocky, there's one guy below him, and his name is Vince Papale.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Showboats have a Papale.
Do they?
They have a Papale.
Wow.
He plays wide receiver. Last week he had 4 receptions for 36 yards. I mean, that guy's a game changer.
Right.
Yeah, 4 receptions, 36 yards.
Yeah, sure.
I think the Showboats pull this one out. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a really good game. And I guess I'll have to say too, for the people watching, you have to excuse us, like trying to learn really an entire new league and entire new players and everything like that. I mean, like it's knowing the NFL and the 4th receiver, 5th receiver and stuff like that. Over time, we've watched that for years and years. I mean, like those players have been around. And they certainly don't have news like Stephon Diggs moving around, when somebody gets traded or moved around, so while we do certainly know we're talking about, like me, having a Papale on the other team. No, I think you're right there with you. I really didn't know what to do about this one. I kind of was looking more total and honestly, even not even fully knowing what to do about that. I think that, the Brahmas looked fantastic, but I think it came under the coach. The Houston, the Roughnecks, they lost their head coach. He's now over there at in San Antonio. Wade Phillips is that dude. I remember I'm like, hey, he looks familiar. Like he's not the Roughnecks anymore. But they looked great. Defense looked great. Offense looked great. But the note that I had written down here was that the Showboats looked surprisingly well.
Yeah.
And especially, at home, I think I would have to, if you're saying that, I'm on the fence. I didn't know which way to go. I mean, I would say I like the Showboats here. If not, I kind of feel points just because like defenses aren't fully locked in. Offenses are figuring it out, but I think I could agree with the Showboats.
And the big thing to me, so Case Cookus was with the Philadelphia Stars when he took them to the championship in the USFL. He's now with the Showboats. I thought he looked great. I mean, he only threw for 200 yards, but he looks good. Now, if they could just figure out how to run the ball, I mean, there wasn't a time that they trailed the entire game, and they ran the ball 19 times for a total of 34 yards.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I was looking at the rushing stats in the top 10, and it's like they don't even have a player up there.
No.
Like the Stallions have 2.
No, let's see. Their top rusher was Case Cookus.
Yeah, that's bad.
Had 4 attempts for 16 yards. So I think if they can figure out how to properly balance the offense, I think the correct play here is a money line play on the Memphis Showboats at plus money.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think you and I talked about this before. I hate taking unders.
Right.
But after last week, I think every game went under.
I don't know. I know for sure the one I bet on did.
Yeah. I think every game went under. So I think that could also be like another strategy this week where maybe all 4 games go under.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But
for sure.
that's where I'm at with the showboats. And the next game on the list is the Arlington Renegades versus the St. Louis Blackhawks. Battlehawks. Excuse me.
The call is law. That's what they say.
Yeah. So Battlehawks, total is over 41.5, and the Renegades are getting 5.5 points. What's your thoughts on this game here?
I was like all over the Battlehawks in the first game, and
Yeah.
I just don't. They just really didn't click, and they didn't look great. And then you watch the last like 2 minutes of the game, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever that, and I'm like, okay, that's exactly what I remember the Battlehawks being.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were literally like ice in their veins. AJ McCarron like coming back, hitting, scoring the 9-point play. Turning around with the 4th and 12 and then coming down and scoring again. I mean, they were doing that stuff on the regular in the first 3 games or so, and then they leveled out and everything like that. Right. But then you look and it's like, there you go. And then there was a 4th down or something along the lines. They ran it up the middle and AJ's got his hands up. And then I even feel like there was like a sound clip that he's like, give me the ball. He may have, probably there's some F words in there too, but you got, they looked great passing. And if they figure out, or they, Anthony back and he says, AJ's like, coach, give me the ball. And they air it out and they're throwing it to 8 men. They're throwing it to, Shepard. They got a solid tight end too. And what their wide receiver too, that Jakor Peterson or whatever. I think I saw a tweet that he's like stepping away or something like that. He did have an injury and I think there was like an issue or something like that, but he was from the Seahawks or whatever, Seattle, whatever they are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think they have a ginormous potential, offensively. And their defense looked really good too. They had 2 interceptions. And Luis Perez didn't really do much for me. The Renegades offense continued to not really be there. They continue to have a pretty good defense. Their defense as their offense kind of thing. So I would certainly, I don't know whether or not who covers or anything like that, but the Battlehawks also, lastly, I mean, they got one of the true home field advantages. I mean, like they packed that stadium in. It's loud. I think going home for the first time, I think that plays a big factor too.
I agree. I think that being at home can make a huge difference. But what happened last week when we were, you and I did a collab on the Battlehawks, what we witnessed was not what we expected to see. Right. I mean, AJ McCarron, there were times, like you said, he looked like he had ice in his veins. I mean, when he was actually starting to throw the ball down the field when he needed to, they looked really good. But then there were times where you're just like, okay, the guy just keeps checking it down. Like, why are we not throwing the ball down the field? Like, they would run on the first down.
Yeah.
Get a yard.
Yeah.
Second down, they'd run again.
Yep. Get
no yards. You're 3rd and 9 now, and now they have to throw, and AJ picks it up. But they did that time and time. Like, there was no adjustments mid-quarter. There was no adjustments at halftime. It was just the same thing. And then when finally they had to finally do something and had to put it in AJ's hands, he did it. Now, what I will say is that the Renegades last week had to play, in my opinion, one of the best football teams. I mean, the best football team in the spring league.
Right. Yeah.
The Stallions.
Yep.
And they were able to hold them in the first half. Now, Perez came out and didn't do anything the second half. 5.5, I believe, was what the line is at. And it's really, really hard. What I'm hoping is that somehow this gets pushed to 6.5.
Sure.
That's what I'm hoping. As of right now, for me, I kind of feel like this is a little bit of a toss-up game because Luis Perez is you can't trust that guy with a football.
Sure.
I mean, you just can't. And AJ McCarron, you can trust. And like we talked about early on in the season, the 2 wide receivers that they have are like the 2 top wide receivers per fantasy.
Yeah. Solid.
Right. So I don't know. Do we see the Battlehawks that we are used to, or is this who they are now?
Yeah. I say it all the time, betting MLB, like I'd rather bet a guy that's hit 5 games in a row than bet a guy that's due. You know, but football is not a daily thing. There's not as like slumps and everything like that, but I seen the Battlehawks that I expected to see in the last 3 minutes. If they could just sling the ball, if they pass the ball, they will be the best team in the league, in my opinion.
And it's a bounce back spot, right?
Yeah.
They lose outright last week on, by the way,
64 yard.
And the kicker hasn't kicked since high school.
Right. And then like NFL teams are reaching out to him, trying to get him too, I saw.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, imagine you not kicking or doing something since you first got your driver's license, and they put you out there to do it.
Right.
And it's so
the longest field goals.
Well, he made it twice.
Yeah.
Right? Kicked it. They iced him. I was like, no way this dude makes it again.
Yeah. Right.
Sure enough, made it again. No problem. Ice in his veins.
Man,
this game's a little shaky for me. But you know what? I mean, again, I think it's an under, probably.
Sure.
41.5. I just think that's probably the best play. I don't know what you do here. Renegades with plus 5.5. I feel like it's a lot of points.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the spring league, you got 9-point plays and Fugazi guys. Oh no, made up rules and stuff.
Right.
I mean,
I don't think we've seen anything more than I don't think we've seen a 9. You know,
what did the Battlehawks do last week?
I think just a 2.
That was just a 2 for them at the end.
I think so. Just the way it came down. I'm not.
Okay.
I mean, there's so much happened at the end of the game.
Yeah.
You know, and I was in the midst of getting the kids home from stuff, and I was kind of watching at the same time. But
I think they might have gotten penalized, which then pushed it back and made it look more longer. Possibly. But okay, so take what you can from that. You know, whichever way you feel best. If you want to roll money line, Battlehawks, if you feel like they could cover, roll with that. But we can only give you the information that we find valuable. All right, and now we're moving to Sunday, where we got my favorite team, the Stallions, versus the Panthers.
Yep.
And let me tell you something right now. What I think is who is the team that beat the Battlehawks, right? So if we think that the Battlehawks are that good, that means that the Panthers defense has to be that good.
Sure. Which they do have one of the leading defensive guy, you know, 11 tackles, 8 solo, 3 assisted, and a sack.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In the entire league.
The Panthers, I mean, you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nakua is his last name.
Which, that's Puka Nakua's brother, I believe.
Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, that would make sense. Kai, I think it is. Yeah, at 11 tackles, 8 solo, 3 assisted.
Yeah.
And 1 sack. Guy was all over the place.
Yep. That's his brother, I believe.
Yeah.
So Puka Nakua is playing defense just under a different alias.
Right.
From as much as I love the Stallions, I think they're the best team in football. Defense matters here in this league. Matt Corral did not look that great. Adrian Martinez came in. He couldn't throw, but he was able to run.
Yeah, he moved the ball well.
Yeah. This is another shaky one for me. Where's the line at right now, Jort?
6.5. That's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah. And the Panthers at home.
Yeah. I think you know where you and I are headed here.
Well, and you know what you just said that I didn't even think about, made my ears perk up. Adrian Martinez was able to run. He moved the ball around. And then we have EJ Perry, right? He ran for 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So he still threw for 176, but he was able to put up 2 touchdowns on the ground as well. So he was able to move the ball around too. So yeah, it's dare I say, sprinkle the money line at plus 230,
I agree. And the Stallions have only lost 3 games over the last 2 years.
Sure. Right.
I think that if there is going to be an upset, which I believe that there always is in these leagues, the Panthers could be the best play. EJ Perry, 176 yards, 12 for 24. Now he did throw 2 interceptions. If he can clean that up, I think that they can play much, much better football. Now we're about to see just how good the Stallions are and how good Matt Corral is, or if they pull him out and put Adrian Martinez in, whatever they decide to do. But for me, the lock of this game, and I'm going to give it to you guys for free, which I hate unders. I feel like you have to take the under here.
There you go.
I mean, the Panthers have the best defense. The Stallions, while they were good, let's be honest, they beat up on the Renegades.
Not much.
Yeah, I mean, I think the under is the best play here. I think it's at 40.5, maybe 41.5.
This was at 41.
Yeah, I'm taking the under. They're never going to push it over 42.5 and give us those key numbers. They keep us
I don't even know what key numbers are at this point.
Yeah, they keep us all right with the 9 and 8s and no extra. Yeah, I don't know what key numbers
most
are.
Of the time, most teams are going for 8. I'm seeing.
That's what I see too. Everyone's lining up 2.
Yeah. Yep. Panthers riding high too after that field goal.
Yeah.
You know, that was them, right?
Yeah.
I'm like getting like the Panthers.
What kind of stinks, right? Is like they kind of confuse you because there's like the Pittsburgh Maulers was a team.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like they combine these 2 different leagues and they all kind of had the same team. So now you're trying to remember who's who and which ones came along.
And this coach was on this team the last time, you know. Yeah. Like I said, so you guys have to excuse us as we get used to it. You know, there's not a whole lot of information on it, unfortunately.
No, if you literally look up like the UFL, you will get like University of Florida.
Yeah. There's a soccer league somewhere too.
Yeah. Okay. Like, it's so hard to get information.
Right. Yeah.
So, right. I mean, I'm pulling as much as I can just from visually watching it. I sat down and I watched all 4 games from start to finish. Yeah, like that's what I'm pulling on. So this leads us to our final game, which is the Houston Roughnecks versus the DC Defenders. And let me tell you something right now. You're going to see, I believe, more home fans for the DC Defenders than the Washington Commanders are going to pull in. Okay. Because when you go to a Washington Commanders game, it's usually, 70% the other team.
Right.
100% of the fans in there will be DC Defenders.
Yeah.
Houston Roughnecks fans don't travel well, I hear.
I'm sure they don't.
So the line is, I believe it's +5.5 to the Roughnecks.
It's 5 still.
Okay. And the over-under is 40.5.
Yep.
What's your thought here, man?
So I would say that I already mentioned, Roughnecks without Wade Phillips. I mean, they look like a completely different team. They didn't look very good at all. Super flat. Didn't seem to have much going on. I think that the Defenders, although they lost, I think they severely underplayed. Jordan Ta'amu, I believe it's pronounced correctly there. I mean, dude's just good. I'm trying to pull it back up here. He had he threw 45 passes, which is an awful lot for a spring league, it seems. But I mean, he completed 25 of them of 227 yards, but he did not throw a touchdown. That's on paper. He had a nice 30-yard touchdown in the first quarter called back off a holding or something like that. Fast forward, I mean, he's wheeling and dealing, running, everything like that. They score another touchdown across the middle, threaded it real nice. There's a personal foul. It got one of his players spit on another player or something like that. Yep. Gives them enough time that they're like, well, wait a second, there was holding on that call.
And you get to review that.
And his second touchdown gets called back. They're big time missing. Was it Abram Smith?
Yeah,
I might have a first and last name. He had tore his ACL or something like that. And tore a knee, probably out for the year, if I'm not mistaken, or at least it's going to be a while. I'm sure they don't have the same get them back kind of money as the NFL does, unfortunately. But he was on the Vikings for a little bit. He was on.
Yeah, I actually heard that he has to pay for his own ACL surgery on his own.
Wow.
That's just a joke. That's just a joke.
I mean,
insurance.
No, and then in my head, I'm like, shoot, if I got to play again, I'd pay for my own stuff too, just take 100%. Out some extra insurance. Right. But no, I think the DC Defenders, I think they underperformed. 5, it's just a weird number. We don't know what to do with it, 5 in college or NFL or something like that. Under a touchdown certainly would be okay. You have to think that they have the home field advantage. You have to think that they grossly underperformed, and they probably have one of the better quarterbacks. In fact, I think he was like the MVP of the season.
He was. Yep. And when he went to the championship, he threw 3 interceptions.
Yeah. They talked about that in the game a few times.
So if we can get to Jordan Ta'amu, or however you say his name,
right,
from the last year's regular season, and put them into this game, I think the DC Defenders actually blow the Roughnecks out of the water.
Yeah.
I don't think that this number 5 is actually big enough for what the DC Defenders are capable of doing. Right. And you're seeing a real mixed bag of, kind of across the board, nobody's going over 6.5. Even though some of these teams 100% deserve, like, as much as I, appreciated the Renegades and what they're capable of doing, the Stallions were always like a 10-point favorite, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or at least over a touchdown. So I think the DC Defenders are going to win this game handedly. And this is my only game I am comfortable with, which is crazy, for an over.
Yeah.
We saw the Defenders give up 27 last week to the Stallions. And then we saw the Roughnecks, I believe, give up 18. Now, neither of them can score, but what we're hoping for is that Jordan Tiamu comes out and is not getting touchdowns called back.
Right.
So I think that the DC Defenders could probably carry us for this entire game as far as points go, and we'll just need the Roughnecks to clean us up and get us over that hump.
Right. The Roughnecks had a -1 turnover differential as well. So I mean,
Okay.
like that, which didn't turn into any points. Oh no, they actually, it did turn into 6 points. So I mean, like, just little bit somewhere. Get a couple extra points that way. Get a short field.
Right. So what I think that we should do for the community, for anyone that is paying attention to this, look, this is a new league. We want people to get excited about it because we are. What do you think about us cooking up a Boys of Spring parlay?
Yeah, I got it pulled up here. We can do that.
Well, let's cook, chef.
Let's. Well, do we want to go wild, or normal?
No, let's go wild. Because
we could start it off. I mean, my favorite game really is probably the Stallions and Panthers game.
What do you like in it?
So I'm looking at a +6.5. That's +100.
Yep,
or the money line that's +230.
Let's not go completely degenerate.
That's what.
Let's keep it. Let's keep this. So I love the +6.5.
Yeah, I think I do too. Definitely.
So we're gonna take them +6.5.
Kind of got out of whack.
Well, Showboat's money line.
Yeah. +110.
Yeah.
Do we like? I like the Battlehawks. You said you like the under.
Yeah, but that's kind of like a toss-up. I don't know what to choose there.
The money line, unfortunately, is -230 as well. So I mean, we could add it, but like it's not going to do a whole lot for us. But I mean, it's just a leg.
Yeah, let's just add it. Let's just add
money
it.
Line.
Yeah. Just because that 5.5 is such an odd number, man.
Yeah. And then that leads us to the Defenders and the Roughnecks with the line of 5. And the over-under is set at 40.5.
I mean, we're gonna go DC Defenders -5, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. So that's gonna put us at 1050. You can't complain about that.
I love that, actually.
So in order, it's gonna be in order for the parlay. If you've made it this far and you're still with us, we appreciate you guys watching.
Thank you
all the way to the end with us here. Hopefully the insight has obviously been pretty beneficial all the way down here. But here is our first little collab here. First parlay for week 2. We got Memphis Showboats, the noon game, money line, 8 o'clock. Big gap there, by the way. There must be some other sports going on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think there is. It's insane. An 8 a.m. and then a night game. It's sickening.
Right. Yeah, so I lost my train of thought. But Battlehawks money line is going to be the second leg. So we got Showboats money line, Battlehawks money line, easy breezy right there on Saturday. Then we're going to go to some spreads on Sunday at noon, at least Eastern time. That's my time zone here. We're going to go with the Panthers at the +6.5. If you want to get wild and put the money line on there, go on ahead. I've always been one. In football, it's a mantra of mine. Definitely in football, when you take a dog on the points, you always sprinkle the money line because you think that dog's got a chance to begin with, unless you're riding like a, I don't know, Coastal's playing Bama and it's a +30 or something like that. They wouldn't play anyway, but and then we're gonna go DC Defenders -5 will be our fourth leg, and that's +1050 on.
I love this thing. I love this play.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And you know what? The last time you and I cooked up a parlay was the CFL one, and we absolutely smacked it.
We did. Plus, it was good. It was like at least It was a plus 14 or plus 17.
I think it was like plus 1470. It was really nice.
Yeah.
And then at that point, you and I were no longer allowed to collab together.
Yeah. After that, we got in trouble.
that got nixed.
Yep.
But now we're all at the same place, and now we can do whatever we want.
Hey, same team. Yep, that's for sure.
All right, so that brings week 2, episode 1 to a close. Like I said, bear with us. Jordan already mentioned we're just learning this league in detail like we know the NFL or college. So bear with us. I'm telling you, nowhere else in this space on gambling, X is anyone doing what Jordan and I are and will be doing with the UFL. And I'm just so happy to anybody that has stuck with us for the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and before we close it out too, just real quick, if you guys have any suggestions, that would be fantastic. First off, like it, subscribe, share it, everything like that, obviously. But if there is something within the show, because there is so much, there's limited information. If there is something particular you guys would like to see, definitely make sure you drop that in the comments. And, we can try to do our best to try to add it in as we grow. We got a long season, and then before we know it, we're going to be doing this, and maybe it turns into some Canadian football action, during the summer, during the dog days of summer. But this is the boys of spring. Dang it. Boys of Spring podcast. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys next week.
Let's win some bets.